Good sound, good fun. That was the $1 Million video for Dire Straits' Calling Elvis. Now, they're a band that doesn't do things by halves, do they? After selling a staggering 70 million albums they've sold so far, 70 million. They're now on the world's biggest rock tour, 24 countries in 2 years, an audience of 7 million, they estimate, and if you can believe what you read, grossing over $700 million on the tour. Not bad for a bloke they call rock's mellow fellow. Would you please welcome #1 straight man, Mark Knopfler. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you very much.
Relaxing, lying back there at the Seville Townhouse. Nice to talk to you.
Look, I've actually got my feet up on it. I've got my feet up here. It's very nice.
Can we see that? Can we pull back on that or not?
First time I've ever done an ad with my feet up. I've done
an interview.
An interview with my feet up.
Oh, it's a tough life on the road, isn't it?
It's tough. Somebody's got to do it.
Now, listen. What about? Are you a masochist? Obviously, you don't need the money to get crass. Why are you putting yourself on 300 concerts on a tour like this?
Well, it's what you do. I mean, you know, you come around to the realization that, I mean, it's exactly the same if you were an actor. You're in a dressing room on Tuesday afternoon with the rain coming down, wondering what you're doing in some strange town. The thing is that, you know, you wanted to do this thing you're so crazy about, so you might as well get on and do it. And if you're going to do it, then do it properly, you know.
But why don't you simply say, look, in terms of doing it properly, let's just go to Australia for 4 or 5 concerts. We'll get a bit of sun, we'll go to the Barrier Reef, we'll bring the family, have a bit of fun, we'll jam, and then we'll go home. Why have all this entourage and all the, you know, millions of tons of gear and all this stuff?
Well, you get into serious trouble, I think, if you didn't. I mean, people get really annoyed if you don't show up, and they have a special relationship with our fans. You know, it's a special thing, and when we get there, they're really pleased to see you, that you've actually bothered to show up. So there's a sort of a commitment that way, definitely. I mean, and even then, I remember last tour we played 250 shows, and we didn't play in Portugal, for instance. So we still haven't. We intend to, and we missed out Ireland last time, which is why we started there this time. Yeah, there's a bond, if you like.
Why do you, again, last time when you came to Australia, you did, what, 20 concerts in Sydney, I think, and a lot around, I think about 1 million Australians saw you last time out. But you said then that you were so knackered, I think was the word you used, that there was even talk of Dire Straits disbanding. I mean, wasn't that a lesson for you? Didn't you realise that it's tough? Yes,
that's right. But and I was tired, but I wanted to do a lot of other things. I got a lot of offers to do other things, and I think that those other things, like film scores or production work or sessions, or
which is what you've done the last 5 years, isn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it seems like 15 minutes to me, but and I think that change is as good as the rest in a lot of ways, and you come back enriched, and your vocabulary's improved, and hopefully you've become something of a better player. And then I was just writing, and I never stopped writing. And I wanted to do the new songs with the group rather than do it with a bunch of other people.
I guess you've been around for so long and have sold so many albums that people don't ask those basic questions anymore. But I mean, is it true that the thing we keep reading about that you guys started with initially back in '77 with, you raised 250 quid or $250,
yeah, which
was enough to get you a recording of Sultans of Swing? Was that a true story?
Oh yeah, we demoed. Went into a little studio in North London, and the engineer of that session is the guy who does our lights now, and we put 5 songs down, and a fella called Charlie Gillett started to play it on local radio, local BBC radio, Radio London. He had a program called Honky Tonk, and all these people started writing in, and we were doing clubs and joints around London at that time. But there was a lot of interest from the demo tape being played on the radio, and a lot of people actually still prefer that little demo tape to what we eventually got on the record.
Do you still have the demo? Is the original still there somewhere?
I haven't heard for ages. It will be somewhere. I think John's probably got it somewhere. He's more of a curator than I am of that, of that
but
kind of stuff.
70 million records later. Now again, you were a cadet journalist for how many years? 3?
I was a cub, reporter for 2 years, and I went to university, and then I taught in a college for 3 years as well, which actually kept me alive, and much better than trying to be a professional musician at the time.
What did you teach, Mark?
English for my sins.
English for your sins. Were you any good? I mean, obviously, to having established yourself as in a profession of teaching, to venture out and become a full-time muso is either crazy or daring, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. But it was compulsive. The music was pushing very hard. I'd written these tunes, and it was a do-or-die thing. And I remember getting a bit nervous at some point because we'd all given up our jobs, and all these record companies that initially wanted to sign us were falling by the wayside. And we were stuck in this little, like almost virtually a squat. It wasn't a squat, but it was, we were paying nothing rent in a horrible part of London. And it was touch and go for a while because record companies, you know, they like to
lock you in.
They like to get excited and interested in something new. But then if you don't sign with them, or if they think you're going to sign, if there are too many companies involved, they think you're going to sign with somebody else. They like to drop out as well. They say, oh, you know, I'm not interested in them really. And at one point, in fact, the company that we did sign with was the last one at that time in the line, and so it looked a bit dicey for a bit.
If that hadn't worked, you may still be teaching Shakespeare at some private college in England.
Well, maybe I wouldn't have been able to get back into that. And I think I would have just gone on with the music. And
I guess it brings us back to the question I asked initially about why you put yourself through this masochism of it. You've said publicly again that you much prefer performing to just getting stuck in a studio. There's something about that smell of the grease paint.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to be a show-off. And music's a big cycle of events, you know. There's writing, which I enjoyed very much. There's the rehearsing, which I love. In a lot of ways, a lot of the excitement comes when you're rehearsing, because that's when the ideas are flowing and everything, and you're making something else. And with this situation now, I love to play with this band. So I'm very lucky in the sense that I enjoy the whole process, the recording, the rehearsing, the recording for touring, and the actual performing when you see everybody. So I'm lucky in the sense that I can enjoy the whole thing. And I kind of sympathize with people who just like to write and sort of wish they could play, and I'm just lucky in the sense that I can seem to be at home doing it all. But I wouldn't like to spend too much time in a studio, certainly, and I don't actually like producing, I've discovered, as much as I like messing about with my own stuff.
Yeah. All right. I guess it's like asking an actor, you know, why they keep going. John McCallum is about 70 now, and these actors keep going. It is that roar of the crowd, the smell of the grease paint. It's in the blood, isn't it? There's something just gives you a buzz.
Oh, well, there's nothing like that. There's absolutely nothing like that at all. I mean, the scale of it worries me a little bit sometimes, just like it did last time. That sometimes you think it's maybe too big. But there's nothing you can actually do about that, really, because with some places where you go, you'd have riots if you weren't able to operate on a scale where people could get to see, you know.
All right. In essence, then, we have to go, but and I know that you've got other appointments, but in essence, it's more of the same, only better? Is that what people are going to see this time?
Yeah.
Sounds like I'm writing a copy, doesn't it?
More of the same, only better. I think we're better. I think you get better. It's slow. I mean, just from time spent doing it, I think you get a little bit better. And
is that the only advantage of old age?
No, there's few. But I feel like, I know I don't look like it, but I feel as though I'm 19.
Okay.
I'm working.
You're working, all right.
Everything works.
You look like it when you're out there on stage. Mark, we thank you for your time. We wish you well, too, on this tour. Let's give some quick dates. On Every Street tour, which is, of course, the name of the album as well. Sydney, the 29th of October, kicking off in Sydney on the 29th, going to Brisbane, to Melbourne, to Perth, to Adelaide, to Hobart, to Canberra. All just part of the tour on the road these days. Let's get a break with we thank you, Mark. Let's get a break with the just released single from On Every Street. The single's called Heavy Fuel. Thank you.
Bye-bye.